Drink it in, drink it in, drink it in, man.
It is picked off by the line. Darius Slay's got it. Coming back right side 25. Picks up a block at the 30. Darius at the 40.
Drink it in, drink it in. Drink it in, drink it in, drink it in, man.
Rolls to the right. Stafford throws deep. Got a man out there. End zone. Touchdown, Detroit Lions. Marvin Jones.
Drink it in, drink it in.
Touchdown, Detroit Lions. Cornbread.
Drink it in, drink it in, drink it in, man.
Detroit Koolaid, what's going on, everybody? Friday, we are in the building. Another week in the books. The Detroit Lions, we talked on Wednesday, had another tough loss in Minnesota. It was expected, though. I mean, Minnesota been playing some good football. Our team's ravaged with injuries. We talked about it. We hit the high points. We hit on Kerryon Johnson, as well as talked about Marvin Jones going down. We'll have some very interesting things to talk about, as well as preview a little bit of this Tampa Bay Buccaneers coming into Detroit to battle our Lions. So with all that being said, Grifka is in the building on a Friday. You know what he does. Do what you do. What up, Grifka?
Oh, man, gosh, what a week, man. It's like, it was cold outside, starting to warm up, everybody. It is December, and it felt like December earlier in the week. But, hey, we're back up in the 30s, and I know people around the country, 30s, like, oh, man, it's cold. Nope, 30s is balmy for December here, so I'll live with that. But, something strange happened this week. I'm going to tease y'all because I got some questions for Derek from what I saw earlier this week. We're going to kick that off at the, near the end of the show. It's kind of surprising, so I want to get some thoughts from Derek on this. So everybody keep listening to this. This will be a cool thing.
And
TGIF, man. I'm so excited, man. To kind of pump that, I forgot all about it.
Oh man, Grifka, let's get right into it. Like, what do you got for me? Because I'm ready to answer some Lions questions. I mean, I think this is a football game that they can get against Tampa Bay. So I'm actually fired up about this episode. I'm ready to do this thing. What do you got?
My first thing for you is I was, reading stuff earlier this week, after the Vikings game, and there's points where guys, got injured, left the game. I mean, Jared Davis went down. He obviously was very frustrated on the sideline. Everybody saw that, and, he was able to come back. But a few other guys, stayed out. Marvin Jones went on IR. My question to you is, I know people are always like, I read the stuff, it's like, oh, let's let the young guys play. Let them guys get some snaps. Do you think like the established veterans on the team at this point in the year, do you think they want to see the young guys? It might be one of those things where they're like, they might think is like they're trying to take a job away from an established person, or you think these people could help. What do you think the veterans on this team feel about, do you think they want to see the young guys play, or do you think they're just kind of out there just playing?
Grifka, when you say reading, I mean, is this Lions 24/7 that we're talking about, or is this Dave Burkett, your favorite writer of all time?
I think it might have been a little bit of Dave Burkett, Justin Rogers as well.
Why are you reading Dave Burkett? He's him and That Sport We Shall Not Speak Of are banned from the show, unless I'm making fun of him. You know this.
Well, because at least I don't want to say everything's negative. It's not like reading Carlos, so where everything is just like the total slanted, doom and gloom, sky is falling no matter what. I mean, he's obviously trying to just be Evil Drew. So, but rest in peace, Evil Drew. I did like reading your stuff.
Oh my gosh, Grifka! Like, we know that you love the annual Calvin Johnson piece by Dave Burkett, but who knew you were a closet Burkett fan all this time I've been making fun of, and I will continue to do so because he's a Rudy Poo. You know what? Let me get to your question about rookies and vets. Here's how it goes down. Like, vets in the NFL are I'm actually always surprised how cool they are to bring along these young guys, coach them up, tell them all their secrets, all this stuff, because it's dog eat dog in the NFL. Like, they cut you any day of the week. You don't have any guaranteed money. I could see other sports, taking guys under their wing because what do they care? They're making $20 million anyway. I threw it out on the previous show we did. like a 5th, 6th, 7th round pick is making like $500,000 a year or $700K. Like it's lawyer doctor type money. So the fact that these guys are so willing to help them, and like they say, well, we need these guys to win. Like, and that's the point. So, when it comes to this point in the year, I don't know that the vets are saying, well, I hope to see this guy, but the situation the Lions are in, like they don't have bodies and they don't have playmakers. So, that they, the guy that we love on the show, the AOs of the world.
Oh, baby.
I mean, he gets his chance. He's going out and playing some good football. Not only do I like, how he's playing, but I saw the last game or so, he gets up in people's face. He wants to be good, it looks like. We were both high on him in the draft process. So, I think there's some good to seeing those guys out on the football field, but I don't know that Rashaan Melvin is like super excited that AO is playing. He's just sitting there getting I think no snaps the last game when he did come back somewhat healthy. So, there's always a curiosity to see like, well, they took this guy high. Like, what does he got? Can he help us? But I'm sure the vets too they want to play. They want to make plays. They want to get their stats so they can maybe get another contract or get, some more money down the line because the careers are short. But I think where the Lions are at, they just don't have really options. So you're seeing more young players, and the coaching staff, I would say, is probably more apt to want to see young guys and figure out what they have, what they're going to do moving forward than, the vets on the team saying, oh, I hope this young guy comes in and balls out so they boot me next year. Like, I doubt that's how it goes down. But to me as a fan too, it's interesting to see the young guys. I mean, everybody always has hope for a younger player who they haven't seen anything, but there's something to be said for a Grizzly vet like Tavon Wilson, that Tavon just goes out there and hits you and smacks you in the mouth, makes tackles. He's where he needs to be. I mean, you don't want to just boot him because he's older if he's the best you got. So lots of different ways you can look at that question. But hey, Grifka, that's a good question. Thanks for asking that.
Yeah. I just want to mention, I think, to kind of piggyback on your answer, I think it just depends on like what time of year it is. Like you said, at this point in the year, it's, the season's almost over. It's, there's injuries, like those guys are, okay, play said guys, let's see some of these young guys. I think it's different in training camp or maybe earlier in the year. I don't know. I don't know, people out there, hit me up on Twitter at Grifka or DKC, because I love the book Paper Lion. I don't know if you've read it. If you have, like I said, hit me up and we can chat about it. No, it's a great book. George Plimpton in the 60s goes out and he fakes like he's trying out for the Lions. And he kind of gets these behind the scenes thing. And the coolest thing is I bring up this question because one night he's before bed check, like some of the players are out at the bar, and I can't remember who it was, but at the time there was like a rookie linebacker on the team, and he wasn't out with this group because George Plimpton was hanging out with the veterans, and he asked him, it's like, well, aren't you going to take this guy under your wing and help him? And they're like, why? He's like, he's trying to take my job. So like when you said that about Rashaan Melvin, that's what it made me think of that, because I think there's a point where guys look at that and they're like, no, he's trying to take my job. Yeah, I want to kind of maybe show him the ropes because we might need him to win, but if he gets good, he's going to take my spot. So I think guys kind of feel that way, and like maybe guys have been on a team for a few years. I know now in the league, it's very transient, guys, teams flip a lot. So maybe it doesn't happen as much as, like I said, back in the 60s and 70s. But, I think maybe it is that way because, established veterans maybe trying to get one more big contract where that young, hungry rookie, is trying to establish himself so he can get paid. So, it's kind of a cool thing to look at it that way.
Yeah, that's a good anecdote to bring up because I think, too, what you see a lot in the NFL and sports in general is I think some of these guys are really a lot better guys than we give them credit for. But I think there's also a good percentage, too, that they know what to say in the media. They know what to say that's really sounds great or is just kind of the right thing to do. But behind the scenes, if you were to catch them in a moment and say like, hey, what do you think about the new young fella? They might give that answer like you said, like, oh, he's all right, but he ain't going to take my job. He ain't better than me type of thing. But in the media, they will talk the guy up and say how excited they are about so-and-so. I think that it is a double-edged sword, double-sided coin when it comes to that. But we only see the the cliched answers, the positivity, the good guy side, and not these guys behind where they probably are fighting and scratching for every little play, every snap, every dollar and cent they can get. I mean, that's what it is. They got families, right? And that's their livelihood. So I would love to see more of that behind the scenes, but like I say, we only get a limited glimpse.
Yeah, that would be, offhand. It's like, no, why don't you tell me? I won't say nothing. That would just be great to be able to have a sit down, like that. I think it'd be cool. But
right.
My next thing I wanted to chat with you about, I know you teased it on Wednesday's show about was it the tweet, or was it your record is what you are, or something like that. And I know we may feel a little different on that, but what kind of is your take with that? With the way where the Lions are at right now with this year.
Oh, all right, Grifka, give me some room here. This is gonna be an Oakley rant.
Do you want me to go to the corner? You want me to go to the corner and get my soapbox and you stand on it?
I don't need your soapbox, but I need one of those boxing refs. Yeah, you might need to go to your corner and give me more than a 10 count because I got a few things to say here. So, this was good old Peter King, this snot-nosed uppity punk that has written for all these things that he lives the glamorous life. So he just sits there with his pen and his pad of paper and thinks he can just pop off. The guy's probably never played a sport, never done anything except write in his whole life. And he sits back there and takes a shot at the Detroit Lions. I believe it was directed right at us. He says, "You are what your record says you are," which to me is this old quote by Bill Parcells. And everybody loves it because they're like, oh, it's such a great quote because, no matter what's going on, you're only as good or as bad as what your record says. Grifka, there's so many issues with this quote, it's not even funny. The first of those is, you are what your record says you are. Like, doesn't that sound like somebody would say that has really no clue what's going on, or just wants to blanket statement everything and just try to boil it down in the simplest terms, when anybody with half a brain knows it's not that simple. Like, there's been plenty of examples where a team could have a horrible record and you could go, you are what your record says you are. Yet everybody knows that team's a lot better football team. They got really good players. Their top 5 players broke their leg in week 1. Are they really what their record says they are at that point? No, they're not, because extenuating circumstances. Secondly, like, people do that just because coaches like to do that, because it puts a cap on players to make them not feel good, or I don't see coaches using this phrase when you're 10-0. I don't see them going, you are what your record says you are. Go out there, yuck it up, laugh it up. Don't even study your playbook. Just show up on Sunday. So it's really only a quote for when people are doing bad that it gets used. And that's, again, that you can't use a simpleton plank statement like this, but only use it when you suck. Oh, you are what your record says you are. You're 2 and whatever. Okay, well then if I'm rolling, I guess I am what I say I am, right? I can just not care. We're better than everyone. It doesn't work both ways. So that's another reason it doesn't work. But Peter King, I swear, this guy's one of the most annoying guys. I mean, he just cruises around like you get the Grifka bell out. He's always at like the popular teams. I mean, Grifka, what would some of those be?
Oh, he's a big fan of the Patriots and the Steelers and the Packers and the Cowboys. I mean,
right. So this guy's always out there yucking it up. Oh, let me write this fluff piece on Aaron Rodgers. Oh, let me go visit the Patriots for a week so I can tell you how great they are at everything. Like, this guy's ridiculous. And for him to just come at our team, come at our coach, like, I don't want to hear. I think it was directed at Matt Patricia. He's saying, like, he went out and said we're better than, what our record is, but we got to show it. We got to win ball games. No, you're not better than what your record is. You are what your record is. No, Peter King, you're a freaking moron. We have no quarterback. All of our defensive players have missed multiple games. They've never been on the field, I don't think, all year. We have a young football team that we're retooling, and basically in year 1.5, 1.75 now of totally retooling what we're doing on defense, and just got a new offensive coordinator. So no, we're not what our record says we are. We're better than that. But if you want to boil it down and make it that simple because you're a freaking idiot and you just want to like throw shade at the Lions or just act like there's nothing else going on except that we've won 3 football games and that's it. then you can do that if you want. But to me, everybody knows in life that whatever happens in your life, there's a million variables that made that happen. So for you just to act like, oh, well, you lost X because of this. No, there was probably 10, 20 other things that happened that caused that. It's not because of this one little statement that just says, well, see, that's what you are. That's avoiding all the things that everybody can point to and say, well, look at this, look at this, look at this, look at this, look at this. That's why we are where we are right now. Right, Peter King? And instead, he just wants to throw our team under the bus because they're having a bad year. Would he say that we are what we say we are if we were rolling? Heck no. He'd probably say, oh, that record's not indicative of the team they are. They're not that good. They're the Detroit Lions, right? So get that garbage out of here, Grifka. I could yell and shout and do a whole bunch more crap, but I'm done with this guy. And for anybody else that uses that, oh, Bill Parcells said it must be true. Yeah, get out of here with that.
Was it if I remember correctly, when Bill Parcells said it, I mean, he was the coach, and he was talking about his own team, and I believe they were underachieving from what a lot of people prognosticated what they would be or how they would be doing at that point in the year, and people were asking him, where his team was at. So that's where he used that quote, if I remember correctly. So you're right. I mean, if a coach says that about their own team, I think, yeah, I agree with you. It's like your team's underperforming what you thought it would be. And so and like you said, outside sources just doing it, it's like you're just not covering. It's like, well, I cover all the NFL. You're right. Peter King, you do. You cover the whole NFL. I got it. It's just, I used to read your stuff in Sports Illustrated, but Sports Illustrated, I stopped reading it a long time ago because they were just obvious fluff pieces. There's nothing really hard hitting about it anymore. So I don't think he's covering in depth as, you think. I think that's a lot of national sports writers, though. They're going to focus on the teams I always name off because that's where fans are going to gravitate to. That's where ESPN's going to gravitate to. That's where even like NFL Network's starting to get like that. When NFL Network, I used to watch it a lot more. It was like one of those, they would cover everybody. Now they're like starting to gravitate more towards those teams, not just in this year, but like at this point in the season, like it seems like almost every year. I mean, because that's who people want to hear. The big fan bases. I get it. I understand that. So I think, like you said, a lot of people use that statement. Your record is what it is, but to a point, it is kind of is what it is. For everything you mentioned, all the injuries, the young team, that's kind of what the team is at right now. And because if the team was if it had that record and Stafford was playing and there wasn't the injuries on the defense and and everybody was all balling out, it's just just to me, then the cliche doesn't fit then. But with where it's at kind of right now with all the injuries, your team is what it is because you have lost so much and you have had these injuries. And so, I mean, I guess it kind of works both ways, but I think a lot of people do use it as a broad brush just to kind of, say that about a lot of teams. They're going to use that with any team that nobody really focuses on because you're right. Nobody's really spouting that off about the Kansas City Chiefs right now. Nobody's spouting that. Well, your record, like you said, though, with New England, nobody said, well, your record is what it is. But, the first thing the NFL Network brought up, or maybe it was ESPN that brought up, they lost it. If the playoffs started right now, the Patriots have lost to the number 1 seed, the number 2 seed, and the number 4 seed in the AFC. So it's just so what are you saying there? Are they a good team? Are they a crappy team? Or,
Grifka, let's take it one more look at it here for a second before we move on. So the quote is, you are what your record says you are. So like you can interpret that multiple ways, I guess. Like somebody could say the Lions are a 3-win football team because their record, they've only won 3 games. Like if you take that very literally, okay, I would tip my cap and say, if you want to just take it again like a simpleton and say we are what our record is, we're a 3-win football team. I guess the facts prove that as somewhat true, but my problem with the quote is you are what your record, just your record, says you are. And my problem with it is your record, it's never the full story, good, bad, or otherwise. Like there's been tons of times where a team gets rolling, but like, okay, their record is good, but we know that's not like a perennial winning team. There's been plenty of teams that were really good that might get ravaged by injuries, have a suspension, have something crazy happen, and they have a really down year. People aren't going to like say they are what their record is because they use their brain and they say that's a really good team. Again, I hate to use the Patriots, but when Tom Brady went down and Matt Castle went in and they sort of had a dip in their production there, nobody was saying they are what their record was because they still ended up winning 10 games, but also they know they would have won more and probably won at a higher level with Brady and like, whatever else happened to him that year. I can't remember all the circumstances, but that's why it doesn't work to me, because if you say you are what your record says you are, you're ignoring some of the obvious things that happen. And like the Lions are a team that has won 3 games, but if you're saying that's their team because that's what their record is, you're ignoring we don't have our $30 million starting quarterback. I'm pretty sure he would have made a difference in some of these close games. You're ignoring lots of other circumstances that have happened. And like anybody, I think that's a good thinker and somebody that's intelligent knows that, all right, before I make my statement, there's a lot of things I got to consider. It's not, oh, he sucks, or look at they won 1 game, they're terrible. If they've won 1 game, but they have all these issues that are out of their control or have just been a bad year, I'm going to look at their team as a whole and maybe have a different interpretation, Lions or otherwise. There's been teams I look at, again, let's turn it to fantasy football. Odell Beckham's been bad this year. Joe Mixon overall has been pretty bad. Kerryon Johnson's been out hurt, like we talked about on Wednesday. People just saying get rid of the guy. Hey, he is what his track record says he is, right? He's injury prone. He's not a productive football player. Or do you take the circumstances into play and say, okay, Odell Beckham's been hurt this year. Nobody knew about it. Now they know. He hasn't had a good year. He's with a new team, a new quarterback. Hey, maybe he's not exactly what he is this year because he has 3-4 years of production. He's 25, 26 years old. And a forward thinker is going to think that maybe next year he comes back and blows up. So he's not what he is at this very moment or what his track record says he is right this time. It's bigger than that. And that's where my issue comes, is you're just painting people in the moment saying, well, you are what you are right at this second. And we all know that's not true. We've all had bad days, tough moments where like we're not that, but in that exact moment or in that season of life or we were. But you can't do that really to people unless you're taking it super literally and just saying, Grifka, you sucked on that day. And that was a bad day. You had a bad day. Okay. Maybe it was factually true for that moment or that short period of time, but it doesn't work on a grand scale unless you want to just broad brush everything or act like, well, I'm just going to boil it down to the simplest of thoughts. And that's going to be awesome. Like, again, that's what Parcells, Lombardi, some of these guys do. And people take it for gospel. And like, for me, it's just, no, the Lions aren't what they're showing this year, but they may not be as good as we'd seen in the past, with Caldwell or whoever, but they might also be way better, right now. I guess, yeah, they're 3 wins, but I don't know. I'm just continuing to say, like, if you're just ignoring all the factors, you're missing the point, and you're also being kind of a moron like Peter King is. Bottom line it there at the end.
Yeah. Peter King, if you're listening, man, please give us a call, 989-272-3484. Love to have a discussion with you. We'd appreciate it.
And Grifka, I don't want a 20-minute rant, but you know why I bang on a guy like Peter King? The same reason I bang on Dave Burkett. These are pompous a-holes that sit there with their nose up and act like, oh, we're just so smart. We're so grandiose. Look at us. Look at all this great work we do by these pieces we write, or this, everyone paints, this hard work they put in. Get out of here with that, man. Have a little bit of humility. Have a little bit of, I just feel like these aren't guys you can chat with. They're not football guys. They're not people that really pound the pavement. They just sort of, do what they do, live a privileged life, kind of, think they're better than everybody else around them. Dave Burkett thinks he's the top writer for the Lions. What Peter King, he bounces around to anybody that will pay him and just says, oh, I'll just work for Monday Morning Quarterback. I'll work for NBC. I'll work for SI, whoever will do it, because I'm just so great. There's no common man. There's no, gosh, what's the word I'm looking for? There's no redeeming qualities I see in these guys when I see them from afar. Maybe I got them totally wrong, but I don't think so based on how I hear them talk, how I hear them act, or how I see them act. It just comes across as totally, like I say, pompous is the best word I can use for both of those guys.
Okay. And I like your take, man. Let's do this. Let's take a break, get our sponsors in here really quick, and then we'll try to break down this exciting Detroit Tampa Bay game that is coming up on Sunday.
Detroit and the Bucs, man. We'll talk all about it. We'll be right back. Detroit Koolaid drinkers, we're back here on a Friday. The Bucs are coming into Ford Field. The Lions love to sort of have home games. Hopefully they can give the people something to cheer about. I know most people are, not very excited about this team or how the season has went. I know I heard, I got to give a shout out. I wanted to do this a couple of shows ago, but I didn't get around to it. You people that listen to podcasts, you got to pull up the Ken Brown, Mike O'Hara podcast. It makes me laugh every time, the way these guys banter back and forth. It makes me laugh at Ken Brown. He just repeats the same thing over and over again. It'd be like, Grifka, if you asked me about TJ Hawkinson, and I would just say, he's a good player. He's a good player. And you keep trying to, he's a good player. He's a good player, Grifka. He just says the same thing. Like, sometimes I'll count how many times he says it, and it'll be like 6, 7, 8. And like, it's the simplest of things, but it makes me laugh. And their rapport is just funny. But they were going back and forth about Ken Brown goes, he goes, how many think you can be at that stadium on Sunday? And Michael O'Hara goes, about 60, 65,000. He goes, 65,000. He goes, it's going to be under 40. And Michael O'Hara kept going, oh, no way. He goes, there's going to be at least a full house or 60. He goes, I'm telling you, under 40. Under 40. He goes, I'm gonna take a picture, and I know under 40 when I see it. And he was going back and forth, and I was like, yeah, I side more with Ken Brown. I bet you there's, a 3/4 or less filled stadium and people not very excited about this game, but it's also one the Lions could get a win in. So, if they came out and played some pretty good football, put some points on the board, maybe got a few turnovers on defense, I mean, it could be kind of a fun game to watch if you're there in person, or for us Lions fans have been starving for a good performance. Yeah, I know under 40. Under 40. Yeah. Under 40.
I know the NFL has a rule with helmets that you have to, wear the same one, that you wear all season long. That's why you can't have multiple ones. But I would love for this to be like a throwback game, throwback uni game. If the Lions went back to like just a simple blue with the silver numbers and the silver helmets. And if the Buccaneers went back to the creamsicle, oh gosh, I would love that. That would be so smooth. But since the creamsicle helmets were white, and now they wear like that with that copper or whatever, that pewter helmet, having the old buck on the side of a pewter helmet just wouldn't look right. So I guess we're stuck with like that oversized pirate flag that they put on there now to try to make them look tougher than what they really are. So
what was that, Grifka? Like, again, I'm going to show my age a bit here, but what was so like Tampa Bay was in the same division, and they were like our rival, right, for a while. Like, give me a half history lesson on this, because I just know that like Tampa Bay and Detroit was always like a game that always seemed to happen. And like, were they actually in the same division?
Yeah, they were both in the NFC North, and this actually might surprise
really?
people. Yeah, this might surprise people actually. Tampa Bay.
What was the division? What were the other teams?
Oh, the ones
I should know this, but
Minnesota, Green Bay, and Chicago. So when Tampa Bay and Green Bay.
Tampa Bay?
Yeah. And in the NFC North. Imagine that.
Wow.
No, it wasn't North. It was the Central at that point. It was the Central. So it was the
Or was it the
NFC.
Norris? Because I've heard the Norris, but I don't even know who was in the Norris division.
Well, they always say the
that?
Norris because that was the old Detroit Red Wings division where they had like Chicago and the Minnesota North Stars, and it was all that. So it was like kind of like the same area team. So that's where they got that from. But yeah, it was the old NFC Central. And actually, when Tampa Bay and Seattle came into the league at the same time, the first year Seattle was actually in the division and Tampa Bay was in the West. So then they flipped them. I don't know how that happened, but still.
The Seattle Seahawks were in the Lions division with the Vikings and the Packers and the Bears. Really?
Yeah, like I think
Oh my gosh, I had no idea about this.
Yeah,
Man, I got to either
Totally
study
amazing.
up or this is way before my time, I guess. But
No, so you don't remember like the 80s football games where it was actually because Green Bay was terrible in the 80s before they got Brett Favre and actually the Magic Man, Don Mikowski. Lynn Dickey was their quarterback. And you thought the Lions sucked then too, but Green Bay was pretty bad as well. And when Tampa Bay and Green Bay would play each other, they called that game the Bay of Pigs. Which is,
I was going to say, I heard Bay of Pigs, but I didn't know it was Green Bay in them. I thought it was maybe something to do with the Lions. But
And I always said it was written in scripture somewhere that Detroit and Tampa Bay. Yeah, Detroit and Tampa Bay had to split the season series no matter what. It always seemed like, either Detroit went at the Silverdome, no matter how good or bad each team was, and Tampa Bay was usually pretty bad. And Detroit, we all, thought they were good when they had Gary Danielson and Eric Hipple and Jeff Chadwick and Leonard Thompson and, Gary James Jones in the backfield. And, even when they had Billy Sims, it was odd. So, even if it would happen early in the year where, Tampa Bay would come up to Detroit and win the game, it's like, okay, they're going to go to Tampa Bay and win. And they would. It seemed like they split every freaking year. It was just like no matter what. Even happened when Barry Sanders was on the team. I remember when they had Warwick Dunn. They came up there and Warwick Dunn went off and I think Derek Brooks said, "Oh, I think we've seen the real. We saw the new Barry Sanders." So then Barry Sanders went down to Tampa Bay and he busted off 2 60-yard touchdown runs and. All he said was just yeah, I'm Barry Sanders. It was just, it was like one of those games. They went off and they went down there and they won, and just to kind of shove it in Derek Brooks' face. And Derek Brooks is a hell of a player. Don't get me wrong, Hall of Famer. Yeah, I love the guy, but he's all trying to talk smack about how Warwick Dunn's the new Barry Sanders. Whatever.
Grifka's in his Wayback Machine. Everybody, I got to stop him at some point.
Hell yeah, man! It was like being
80s, 90s football.
That was like being in the Doctor Who phone booth, man. Just kind of traveling through time.
I agree with you. The old jerseys would be cool. I thought you were actually going to say something about have it be old school leather helmets, and it reminded me of me and you are big Jim Rome guys. One time he was interviewing Lee Evans, and how Rome teased up the question, and so he had said something, and Jim Rome goes, "Yeah, that just. I mean, you guys were out there in the parking lot, you were in leather helmets or something." And then there's just this awkward pause. Lee Evans said nothing, and then Alvy played the crickets sound effect like we do on this show. It's like a known drop where Lee Evans just yeah, sure, buddy. Leather, what are you talking about? And Rome always calls it one of his worst follow-up questions of all time. Oh, it's classic. So I thought you were gonna say something like that. I was gonna hit you with crickets, but yeah, I would love to see the older jerseys. We won't get it, but to me, this shapes up as a pretty, doable game for the Lions. I mean, their quarterback for Tampa Bay is hurt. Mike Evans isn't around. So, I feel like most Lions fans should go in, the people that want them to lose every game, you got to be a little bit worried. And the people that just want to get off the schneid, this is a game that I think you'll see some fireworks and kind of some back and forth football.
I saw earlier, you mentioned how Jameis Winston was hurt, but have you seen anything lately? Is he doubtful or out for Sunday? Because I know you like him, and I said earlier in this year you said that you like him. I've always thought he was garbage, but this guy, it's I'm almost starting to like him simply for his stats, simply because this dude's always balling off for 350 yards and 4 touchdowns, but he always has 2 or 3 picks a game. I mean, he's like, here, you take the ball. Whoever catches it, it's cool. I don't care. You just catch it. I'm starting to like that, but I hate him on the Lions because at one point, it'd be they would need him to have a game-winning drive, and he would throw the ball to the other team, and that would just drive me bats.
And the funniest part, And the funniest part is I went the other way. Like now, James Winston, not only can he not play on my fantasy teams because all his turnovers, but I say this most times when I see him or his stat line.
What the hell are you doing?
This guy's just chucking. It's like he's colorblind. He's just chucking it. Oh man, that guy's wide open. That's the defense, James. It's like I can't stand the way he plays. It's to me, it's just a very reckless, odd football. Like they'll show the highlights, and it's just garbage throws to the other team, chucking it up for grabs. Like the minute his team gets going, he'll make a turnover to cost him the game. The next game, he'll come out of the woodwork when they're dead to rights, and he'll lead them to a last second victory. Or I don't know. He's a total enigma to me now. Like I've turned the corner that I don't think he's a very good player or overall football player. I mean, he can put up numbers like you said, but I don't think he's going to lead you to any big time winning. Whereas before I thought I liked his stature. I liked the fact that he came from a good program. I thought he had what it took, but you just cannot turn the football over at the rate he does and have an organization, make you the centerpiece. So I would think he's probably moving on after this year if Tampa Bay can get a better player, either draft, free agency, whatever it may be. But yeah, I guess he has like a busted thumb, but Bruce Arians, like, he'll be fine to play. I'm like, I think it's on his throwing hand or something. I can't remember, but if it is, I don't know how you go out there with a busted up thumb and just wing the ball around, but that's what he's going to try to do, I guess.
Yeah, I attribute him to playing kind of like recess football. Remember, like when you're a kid and you go outside and play recess at school, and just like you divide up like it's like 10 on 10, and there's like everybody just out in the pass route because nobody's blocking or anything, and you just chuck the ball up and hope somebody comes down with it. And that's pretty much what he does on this team. It's like they never go like max protection. It's just always like, okay, we have 5 guys that need to block. Everybody just go take routes. And that's what he's like, here, he's just throwing it up. And then somebody goes, hey, the bell's going to ring. So he just like throws a bomb and either wins the game or it's just like, okay, now we got to go back and, we'll see you guys at lunch, something like that. So,
but here's my thing, like,
I think he plays.
Why you're teeing it up like that, it worries me because the Lions, I think I saw a stat the other day. Like we have 3 picks for the whole year, if I'm not mistaken, something ridiculous like that. And like a couple of them happened early in the season. So we've went like, gosh, it has to be 5, 6, 7, 8, whatever, however many weeks with really no interceptions. And the fact that Jameis Winston throws a ton.
Thanksgiving was the last interception. Remember, they picked off.
Oh yeah, big play got him.
Yeah.
So, but I think that 3 is like a legit number. Like they maybe have 3 or 6 picks on the whole year, something really low like that, Yeah. Whereas like, people, of course, the Condre Diggs fans are coming out, oh, look at all the picks he has. Anybody that's seen all of his interceptions, like 3 of them were thrown right to him, and one he made a nice little play on in the back end. So again, Condre Diggs was my guy. He was a dog. I liked him, but don't act like this guy's just a turnover machine, But getting back to my point, so like the Lions cannot turn the football over. All Jameis Winston does is turn the football over. So I swear if we come back next week and I'm looking at the stat sheet and there's no exciting turnovers by our Lions, then we have just no chance in regards to turning over people, because this is the guy. If he doesn't throw it to us at least twice, then there's something wrong.
Yeah. Let's hit on one question on the defense. Yes, Sue's on that defense. Do you think this? Sue's that type? You think Sue's that type of guy that like circled this game on the calendar when it came out, or you think he like even really cares? Because you always hear like, oh, this guy's all gonna be pumped because he's coming back to take his former team on, blah blah blah. Me personally, I don't think Sue's that type of guy. He just doesn't seem like that type of guy who's going to be like, he had the Detroit Lions circled in a big red marker, like, I'm coming back, I'm going to stomp these guys. Do you think that, or do you think it's possible that, this is just another game for him?
Grifka, is this a real question?
Oh, yeah, it had to be, because you got to talk, when you're talking about the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, you got to bring up Ndamukong Suh.
This is your guy. You love this guy. You think he was just the greatest thing ever. But here's the thing, like, he doesn't red circle it now. I feel like after he left, I don't know that we played him when he was in Miami. There was all that rumor innuendo when he came here, what was it, last year, a couple years ago, with LA, with the Rams. And, there's all this, man, is he going to take a cheap shot at Matt Stafford, or did him and Stafford have problems, or was Sue mad because he couldn't be the guy? Stafford was the leader. I mean, I thought in that game, you go back and watch that game or remember that game, that he was working his tail off trying to get after the quarterback, trying to make a statement. And I think I can't remember if he got a sack or there was a couple of times he got in. I won't even say that he sort of did either do some Sue shenanigans and sort of do something late or kind of half questionable. But to me, that's when he had a burner settle. Now it's just like he got booted around the league again. He kind of took a whatever deal. I mean, I didn't even really remember him, to be honest. Like when people bring up him on Tampa Bay, it's just sort of like, oh yeah, I guess he is in Tampa Bay. He sort of fell off the map as a primetime player in the NFL about 3 years ago or more. So I feel like he's just there. Now, if he gets unblocked, can he still like ragdoll a running back or maybe get your quarterback on the ground? Yeah, but I don't think he's going to have any ill will or do anything, but he is half crazy. So I could see him stomping on a player, doing something crazy, to get back at us, I guess. But I would lean towards no. So.
Okay. Like I said,
I forgot about Ndamukong Suh the minute he left, to be honest.
I'm sure he thinks about you often. So Ndamukong, if you're listening, man, we would really appreciate it if you call in, because Derek would love to catch up. Call in at 989-272-3484.
Another pompous a-hole, number 90 right there. I mean, put him on the list. It goes Burkett, Sue. Oh no, Burkett, Peter King, Sue.
Okay, we better get that straight. So we have that. So we have that, we know later, So when you do bump into Peter King and you find out he's really a nice guy, you're like, no, man, I never talk crap about you.
It's all relative. It's sliding scale, but that's where I got him ranked now.
Let's do this. I mean, we know the season. A lot of people are hoping that the Lions lose, get the better draft picks. And Tampa Bay, they're out of the playoffs too, but they've been playing actually pretty decent of late. So why don't you give me a prediction for this game? How do you see this game falling?
Tampa Bay, Detroit. I mean, I'm going to pull a half Grifka here. Like, I actually just want to see a really good, exciting football game from our team. I want to win. I really feel like a win or a loss isn't going to swing us from the second pick to the 10th pick. So anything in that top 5, 7, I feel like we're going to get, a good player. I don't think there's really any chance of getting Chase Young, as much as people keep talking about that. So I want a Dubsky. I think that if they had Mike Evans, it would be a pretty ugly game. We'd probably get the ball thrown all over the football field on us. I feel like without him, as good as Chris Godwin has been, I feel like Ronald Jones and Peyton Barber are nothing special. I feel like their defense is So I'm going to throw out that, again, I kind of lean towards, if you look at my track record, some high scores, but I really do think this could be a half fun game in Ford Field. So I'd say I give the Lions 33 points, and I think the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are going to get 27 points. So it's going to kind of be a nice win. It's going to be a lot of points on the scoreboard. I see Blau kind of coming out of the woodwork and putting multiple touchdowns together through the air. I see Bo Scarborough hitting the end zone. The defense turning the football over, and Jameis Winston, throwing a few TDs and kind of getting his team, but falling short late, which we haven't seen by many quarterbacks. Most of the time, they're staying in the game and then beating us in the fourth quarter. I see Jameis beating his team in the fourth quarter, and us kind of having a somewhat fun victory in Ford Field after a lot of losses have piled up.
Wow, I honestly wasn't expecting that. Gosh. Me, like you said, I always like to see my team win. I know we've had this discussion before, but I don't picture Tampa Bay like the world beaters. I realize they just beat Indianapolis, but once again, that game was at home late in the year. Indianapolis is cold at this time of year, and going down to Tampa Bay, they did wilt a little bit in the second half. But it's coming up to Detroit. Blau's back at home. I realize Tampa Bay does have some tape on him, but Arians, I believe he's more of an offensive coach. So, gosh, it's going to have to be, like you said, one of those high-scoring games on this. But, oh, jeez. Gosh, I don't know who I want to pick. My heart tells me I really want to pick the Lions, but I realize it's Detroit Koolaid, but
the Koolaid Cat. Hold on, let me get a sound bit that might get you going, Grifka. I mean, you want to do it, Grifka. Come on,
Drink it in, man.
Cornbread.
Come on.
Okay, gosh, they've thrown up a lot of points, and like you said, Evans isn't playing, so
Drink it in.
I will take Detroit on this one. I'll go Detroit 24, Tampa Bay 23. They squeak it out. There you go.
Woo!
There you go. You talked me into it.
Yeah, give that score one more time so I can do that.
That's Detroit 24 and Tampa Bay 23.
Woo!
Yes, sir. So we both got the Lions winning. We had some fun doing some outside the box topics. Talked about the game. I was going to ask your last question, but something makes me feel like you got something else you want to ask me, Grifka. Is there anything else we got today, or are we done?
No, just a quick thing, man. A couple things. It's right before Christmas here, and I had to do some shopping for the kids. So I was at the mall, and I saw a small group of people that everybody recognized, and they were in line for Santa. And I was just like, why are they going to Santa? But okay, So once again, I want to ask you, the people that I saw when they got sat on Santa's lap, what do you think they asked for? So first person that actually was able to sit on his lap was Daryl Bevel. What do you think Daryl Bevel asked for?
Daryl Bevel only wants one thing for Christmas, Grifka.
What's that?
That's who he might be.
Stafford!
He wants a signal caller back. I mean, all I want for Christmas is number 9 from Daryl Bevel.
Okay, yeah. I was thinking that maybe, or I was thinking maybe a head coaching position, but yeah, I could understand Stafford right there. So I agree with that. So what about the next person up? I can't see these two hanging out together, but they were at the mall. I was kind of surprised. Jelani Tavai, besides maybe a new helmet for keep dropping his helmet so he can have the illegal helmet-to-helmet hits. But what do you think Tavai asked for?
Oh, man. I mean, right now, Jelani Tavai is asking for a Columbia coat. I mean, extra thin slate, as warm as they come, 3 sets of gloves, 2 hats. I mean, he wants the warmest you can buy from Dick's Sporting Goods. And then he also wants a ticket right back to Hawaii the day after the season is over so he can get the hell out of here because, this guy is not going to be like in the, 5 degrees or whatever it's going to be tomorrow. So Tavai needs a good coat, hat, gloves, and is going to be gone before you know it. As good of a guy as he is, he ain't staying around Detroit, I tell you that.
You mean he's not going to winter here in Royal Oak?
No, he gone.
Okay. The next one up, actually, somebody had to tell me who this was because I heard about him, and I knew he was on the team. I just hadn't seen him very much. People were telling me it was Jesse James. So what do you think Jesse James asked for?
Jesse James, oh my gosh. What the heck does Jesse James want? Well, he's got all the money in the world. We know that, unfortunately. Bob Quinn, come on, buddy. Gosh, Jesse James probably would like to ask Santa for some PT. I mean, actually get some time on the field. I mean, Jesse James would probably love people to not call him the outlaw or make fun of his name like he's a guy from an old Western. That'd probably be good for Jesse James. Detroit fans would like Jesse James to, I don't know, do something. And Jesse James hopefully is asking Santa for a new jersey because I've seen enough. I'm ready to move on from the guy. Hopefully he gets we find a way out of this contract. Maybe there's some loophole we can get rid of this guy and get somebody that can actually make plays.
Okay. Well, one thing I did notice was this elf behind Santa, and he looked awful familiar to me. And then he what this elf said made me realize who it was. It was like, couple more for Santa. I'm like, it's Bill Keenis. I freaking knew it. I'm like, Bill Keenis. They must have kicked him out. And he goes, so as he said that, this person stepped up. It took a while for this person to get up there, but yes, Martha Ford actually sat on Santa's lap. What do you think through her sunglasses, in the mall yet, What do you think she asked?
Oh man, Grifka, I can't get over the fact that somebody's saying couple more for Santa. Oh, that's tremendous. It works, and I could see Bill doing that on his off time. He probably needs an extra paycheck nowadays. Martha Ford, I mean, this is obvious too, Grifka. Martha Ford sitting on Santa's lap and going, "Hello, Santa. You know what I'd like? I haven't got my greatest present yet. My greatest present is the Lombardi Trophy. Yay!" and then Santa looks at her and goes, "Hey, old lady, I mean little girl, the sunglasses hut is right down the way there in the mall. You can go find another nice pair of black, what do they call those old person shades? Blue blockers. You get some blue blockers down there at the sunglass hut, you crazy old person." So that, but I mean, she really wants the Lombardi Trophy. I don't know if you've heard.
All I picked up on is after that she must have asked for that because Santa looked at her and goes, "How about a football?" And she goes, "No," and he goes, "Ho ho ho," and he like kicked her down the slide and she slid down. So
I'm sure she's a wonderful lady, but yeah.
Yeah. So okay, so yeah, it was just saw those, and since they were obviously Lions, they were crowded around by people, so I didn't get a chance to go up and ask them what they wanted. So I really wanted to get your take on what you thought they might ask Santa for. So
very timely, Grifka, good stuff. And with Bill Keenis saying a couple more for Santa, I only got one more for you, Grifka. With the Christmas season right around the corner, with the people wanting just one thing from you for Christmas, and it's this. Do you have anything else for the people?
Nope.
Everybody, Lions, Bucs, I'm feeling a dubski, just like I got in fantasy football against the Big Hughes. If you haven't heard that episode, you got to go back and listen to the Fantasy Football Flavor, where we actually did a live show as our matchup went. I beat Hughes in the most dramatic of fashions. You got to check that out. We're all about dubskis here in my house, and that's all we get is wins, and I think the Lions will get one. And some actual good questions from Grifka today. So that's always a nice change. And we'll see what our team does. It's been a tough season. We all know that. For those that are hanging in there and see a brighter 2020, appreciate that. Keep drinking that Detroit Koolaid.
Drink it in, man.
For all those that want to lose out, get that draft pick. You love the Lions, as do we. Thanks for checking in on the Detroit Koolaid Cast. Take care, everybody. Have a great weekend. We're out.
Pack the bag, start the plane. This game is over. It is over. What a comeback by the Lions.
Drink it in,